Hey everyone, what's up? This is Uri for Guerrilla Poker. In this video, I'm trying out a new concept and we'll call it red line versus blue line. What's the idea of this concept? I'll share a bit of history. So when I started playing poker, my approach was naturally a very red line approach, which means I was constantly thinking of my opponents and how they perceive me, and are they strong, are they weak, are they going to overfold, and not really thinking too much about my own cards or my own range, just how they would perceive my range. And this would lead to some pretty suicidal plays long time ago, but in spots where people were a bit capped or were giving off some kind of information or misinterpreting their own range. And I even remember a time where I kept barreling off my stack against a guy on ace-high boards because he would 3-bet all his ace-kings and ace-queens and check-raise all his 2 pairs and sets. And so he never called me and he kept tank folding the river. And he started texting me at some point, and I think it was PokerStars. He's like, what do you have all the time? And the truth was, the answer was just any 2 cards. You know, this video is not going to be necessarily about how to win money. Whenever people ask me about red line versus blue line, I always say, you know, it's the green line that counts. Like, just make money, don't worry about the other lines. But if you want to talk styles, that's the red line frame of mind. And at some point, I ran into some tougher opposition. I felt like I had to study more theory. When I was playing theory, I was thinking about my range and my cards, etc. And I became a blue line player. So we're going to do a Zoom session. We're going to do a few minutes of blue line and a few minutes of red line. We'll switch in between just to show you guys, and you guys can do this exercise for yourselves. Of course, this isn't the only way to do this, but it's one way to do this. So, of course, we're not going to commentate. Like, not every hand is going to fit, but some of them are. So here, a red line player would say, I don't think my opponent would stab for this size with ace king, ace queen, ace jack. I think he would go bigger with those. So there's a decent chance my hand is the best hand, but this isn't like a thin value size. So what do? So we could do something like call and donk 1 big blind, and maybe that induces him to fire an extra bluff or call with something kind of weak, but we just have the same hand. Here we call a 3-bet. We have a hand that I think is just supposed to fold flop. And red line thought, I guess let's start with blue line, guys. Let's start with blue line, even though it's less sexy. So that's just a fold. That's just a fold. We shouldn't have bet the 1 big blind. We're in blue line because it's tough to go the other way around because red line's definitely much more fun. So yeah, just playing our GTO strat. 10s mix 3-bet and call. Queen 9 suited, probably similar. This is basically going to be the process. I think this mixes 3-bet and fold here, probably. So blue line might even fold it. And then versus third pot with queen 9 of diamonds, we'd be like, well, I mean, there's blue line who knows a lot of theory and who knows less, but this is like mixed raise and call. So just to keep things interesting, we will actually raise. This is mixed, I think, in these positions as well. And here we get 4-bet with a cold caller. This has to pure fold. And then we'd say, oh, well, we can't range bet this board. Let's randomize and sometimes bet, sometimes check. We'll check this time. I think here queen 9 of diamonds mostly checks back on a turn. And now ace 9 should check. Queen 9 of diamonds, we have a bluff catcher. The queen of diamonds is bad because part of the stuff he'd bluff, so fold, right? Like that would be just looking at my hand. I think this is a really good example of blue line play. Because a blue line player is not thinking about his opponent's range. Is he over bluffing? Is he under bluffing? What's this sizing? What's this timing? All these things. He would just be thinking, oh look, bluff catcher, bad removal, fold, right? Which is, like I said, it's theoretically correct. It's going to lead to more of a blue line style. This is mostly calling. And we're going to shift to red line soon. Once we get the point across, we need to get the point across. So yeah, blue line would say this should mix stab and check back probably, but mostly stab. It's a fairly strong hand, and our sizing will be half pot. I think this gets to call. I'm sometimes off with a range structure ring. And yet then 10 we can probably still barrel. I think this one's just about strong enough. Okay. Sure. We're getting some unique runouts. This probably checks. This mixes call and raise. This probably bets but doesn't have to bet. And snap call, so we're chopping probably. Oh wow, king jack. I'm surprised to see a hand that strong. And here we can go ahead and bet, and you could go various sizings there. Go with an overbet. And wow, we run into trip, so was that a good bet or a bad bet? We'd rather have check raised or bet small and have him raise, and we 3-bet, so not the ideal result there. But yeah, we'd be like, let's randomize which size that hand goes into, because we need to defend this range and defend that range, and sometimes check raise, and we're constantly thinking about our range, right? And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it just generally tends to lead to less of a red line and more of a blue line.